So let's go ahead and get into the NFC Championship game, guys. We have Aaron Rodgers versus Tom Brady. And let's all just take a moment really quick to just appreciate the greatness that is going to be on the field in this game. We don't know how many more times in the future we're going to get to witness something like this. So just like last week with the Saints and you had Drew Brees versus Brady, let's appreciate Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. It's going to be stellar, okay? That's the potential to light up the scoreboard a million times. So let's talk about the spread here. Early money has come in for Tampa, moving the Packers from 4-point favorites to 3.5-point favorites. The point total is set at 51. Now, the Packers, they beat the Rams 32-18 at Lambeau. Aaron Rodgers, he had no problem against one of the league's best defenses, throwing 296 yards and 2 touchdowns. Now the Bucs, they avoided a season sweep by the Saints. They won 30-20, regardless of whether or not they were created or they were gifted. The Buccaneers defense got 4 turnovers off of the Saints offense. And if that wasn't bizarre enough for you, there was even a rare Tom Brady rushing touchdown in this game, okay? So the Bucs, they were just too good for the Saints, and that's all she wrote. Now, guys, the one time Aaron Rodgers didn't look like a bad man this season, the one time he really struggled this year was against the Bucs. But here we are, fast forward to January in 2021, and both of these teams look and are playing very different than they were at that time, okay? Plus, this time the game is in Lambeau. Drew, I'll start with you. What do you like about this game?
So I understand why the market is moving a little bit in favor of the Bucs. Obviously there's a lot of people that look at Brady and the run he's on and think, hey, this is, he's got it. He's got the magic touch. He's going to find a way to win this game. There's a lot of people that run power numbers, that run math models, that are seeing Green Bay, number 1 offense, number 10 to 12 defense, Tampa Bay, number 4 offense, number 5 defense, so there's not a huge gap between these two teams from a number standpoint. And in fact, if I were to make a line on a neutral field, in a neutral situation, I would probably have it pretty close to a pick'em. I'd have Green Bay maybe favored by a little bit, but not much more than a pick'em in that one. And I think you have to respect the fact that it's in Green Bay. You have a team from Florida heading up to the frozen tundra of Lambeau. That's never easy on the, just your body's never perfectly equipped for that sort of adjustment on the fly. Tom Brady obviously has played many games in January in cold weather, so he should be perfectly fine. But the rest of the guys may see a little bit of adjustment period getting going here. And then similarly, this is the 3rd game in a row for the Buccaneers on the road. Jeff mentioned that, the Ravens looked a little lethargic last week. Possible that was because that was their 3rd game in a row on the road. It's tough to travel week in, week out, especially this time of year. And so there is some potential for fatigue to creep here and for the Buccaneers, and I could see, a slow start for these guys. On top of that, you have Matt LaFleur, who has been pretty clearly the class of the NFL now, going on 2 seasons in the scripted portion of the game. His first 15 plays have been superlative in almost every matchup that we've seen the Green Bay Packers take on so far this season. And even in the first matchup, which the Packers lost 38-10, Green Bay was excellent in the first quarter in that game. If they don't have a stall out in their first red zone trip, they're up 14-0, and maybe that game looks a lot different. Similarly, the pick 6 obviously flipped momentum in that game, and I think you can pretty much throw everything out after it was 14-10 because the Packers more or less packed it in. But reasonably, the likelihood that the Green Bay Packers come in with a good game plan that is sharp, that is passing focused early on, I think is high. Tampa Bay has an excellent run defense. I don't think that you're going to see a guy as smart as Matt LaFleur run into the teeth of that defense early on here. I think it's going to be a rhythm passing game, quick ball out of his hands quickly, attack through the air. Devontae Adams may get 5 to 10 targets in the first half of this one. And I think it'll work, honestly, because the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense, while they're good, they're aggressive, they can take away the short stuff. They don't do quite as well when you attack them over the top or you hit them in the intermediate to deep part of the field, especially along the sidelines, which is exactly, where Aaron is kind of makes his money. I mean, that's his bread and butter. So I would expect that, Green Bay gets out to a hot start in this one. I like them in the first quarter. I like them in the first half. And then the entire rest of the game breaks down to can Tampa Bay answer? Can they come back from a deficit? Now, I think they have the weapons to do it. I think this is going to be a high-scoring game overall. I think the over 51 is in play. And I think the over 51 can get there even if Green Bay defense shows up and holds Tampa Bay down over the duration of this game, because Green Bay is capable of scoring 40 points. We saw them do it against the Titans. We've seen them do it a number of times this year in games that were lopsided. But Green Bay's defense has been giving up a lot of garbage time points, a lot of second half points. They don't slam the door. And, the fact that Tampa Bay's run defense, I think, can stop Green Bay from playing keep away will give them the opportunity to answer by scoring. So I think the best way to attack this game is over 51. But Green Bay getting out to an early lead, first quarter, first half, makes a ton of sense to me as well.
I love that. And I've recently gotten more into betting on the first half of games, like who has the lead, the spread and stuff. So I really like what you had to say about Matt LaFleur and how well scripted he is within the first 15 plays. That's something bettors definitely need to look at. Jeff, coach, how do you see this game going?
It's interesting that Whale talked about LaFleur and the opening 15, because for Tampa, it hasn't been that way. It's been a struggle early in games. And so, in playoff football, momentum is so critical, especially if you're a road team. You've got to stay with the home team. And you're talking about now, this is a team, and we've talked about the weather a lot over the course of the season. It's supposed to be somewhere around freezing in Green Bay with a chance of snow. It's not the snow that is the biggest concern to me. It's wind and cold. And Tampa Bay is a team that this year, in all of their 16 regular season games and their playoff games, has never played in a temperature below 60 degrees. Below 60 degrees. They're going to be out there. You fly in the night before. You go to the hotel. They don't have a walkthrough. The first they're going to feel that cold is when they get on the bus and they go to the stadium. And I'm going to tell you, if you've ever been in Green Bay, Wisconsin at this time of year in that stadium, it is awful. And you can't even describe what it's like. Tampa, as a football team, historically has one playoff game below 40 degrees in the history of the franchise. So everything that way would indicate that this is going to be a big change. And, obviously Tom has experience in it. Gronkowski has experience in it. They've got guys who played in college in cold weather. But your body acclimates itself to the weather that you're in on a daily basis. And they're in Florida. So as Aaron said before the last game, that they like the cold. They welcome the cold. They're used to the cold. They live in it. It's their environment. Now, obviously, I think with more people in the stands, it would certainly be even a bigger advantage to the Packers. I think when you look at the game that they played the last time, I would throw that completely out, because it was such a one-off. You're talking about a quarterback that has thrown 45 or 48 touchdown passes against 5 interceptions on the course of the season. 2 of those interceptions came in one game. So his ability to protect the football, which is the number one most important factor to me in terms of playoff football, you've got to take care of the ball. Nobody takes care of the ball better than Aaron Rodgers does. And that is a distinct advantage in my mind, because Tom will put it into traffic and Tom will throw it up. And we saw it in the game the other day. He'll put it up there, but you got to make your plays when you get an opportunity. Saints had a couple times they could have completely changed the narrative in that game had they made plays on balls that they had. Vita Vea is coming back for the Bucks, and that's big, because that's another big body inside with Ndamukong Suh to help stop the run. I think that Wells' observation about the way that they'll use Aaron Jones is really, really important, because I don't see him doing an awful lot of the static zone play that they've become known for. I think they'll get him out of the box. They'll get him out in the flat. They'll make the linebackers cover him. He's such a weapon. All that said, and you factor in number one receiver in my mind in the league, and I like him a little more than Diggs and Devontae Adams, because he has to do it with less help around him. I just don't trust Allen Lazard, and I just don't trust Scantling. Scantling averages 20 yards a catch, but I'm telling you, he fights the ball so bad. And these are big games, and these are young kids playing in big games for the first time. all that said, I think the 51 is. I was actually surprised when I saw the 51. I thought it would be 55 minimum, so I would play the over, and I'm going to take the Packers in this. I think their defense is good enough. Their defense isn't great, but their defense is good enough. The one thing their defense can do with those Smith brothers at outside linebacker, they can rush the passer, and they do get turnovers, and those two things are critical in playoffs.
So, Jeff, are you taking the Packers to win money line, or do you have them covering 3.5?
I think they'll cover 3.5. I really do.
Okay, all right. So you sleeping on Brady again? You always do this to me. Where
it's funny. It's OJ. You talk about that, and it's really true, right? You said you never bet against an angry Tom Brady. Right. One of the things I know, and I remember the first time I saw it was when he was sitting in the green room at the NFL draft, and he slid, and he was the only guy left in the green room. And he had that look on his face like somebody's going to pay for this. He's got a chance. He's playing for his legacy too, right? There's only been one quarterback in the history of Green Bay that's won 2 Super Bowls, and that's Bart Starr, the only guy.
Wow.
Brett Favre never could. He replaced Brett Favre, and in his heart, he wants to be remembered as the best quarterback that ever played in Green Bay. And at 37 years old, you don't get a lot of chances. So I think he's going to be on fire in this game.
Yeah, I mean, Aaron Rodgers is definitely going to be on fire, and he is scary. It is terrifying to me. I can't imagine being an opposing defense, and Aaron Rodgers is sitting there, and he's looking at you, and he just smiles because he knows what you're doing. And he's like, okay, I got this matchup, or it's just like his confidence is creepy to me almost, and I don't know, it is terrifying. But I look at whenever they played last time, 10-38 was the score. Aaron Rodgers had 2 interceptions, 0 touchdowns, 160 yards, and they somehow held the great, who Sammy Coates earlier this season told us was the best route runner and the best wide receiver in the NFL. And I think everybody else agrees he's probably the best wide receiver right now in the NFL. They held him to, 61 yards? 6 receptions, 61 yards. Like, that also is kind of scary. And I do not put as much credence into the weather as other people do, because even if these guys, like Tom Brady, right, played in Foxborough forever, we know that he knows how to play in the cold. A lot of these dudes went to college in cold places, or they're from cold places. And I've always been told that whenever that adrenaline kicks in and you're out there on the field, you don't feel it as much. So the wind is something I would look out for, but as far as it being 29 degrees, which is what I'm reading it's supposed to be, I don't put that much credence in this. This is going to come down to, in my opinion, Bruce Arians realizing that he doesn't have to risk it to get the biscuit. You can get the biscuit without too much risk it. And I just don't want to see coaching ruin this game for them. I don't want to see Tom Brady get behind and have to put the ball in the air 40 times, because as we said earlier, especially this year, he will turn the ball over. And that's whenever you start to see him get flustered, his face turns red, and then everything just seems to go downhill from there. I think that the Buccaneers will never make the mistake again of running the ball 5 times in one game. It's not going to happen. I think Ronald Jones is just a bad man. And that 2-headed beast that they have at running back is going to help them control this game. The team just looks different. The Buccaneers look so much better right now than they did when they destroyed the Packers earlier this season. Everybody's coming to full form. I don't know. I have the Buccaneers. Obviously, I think they're going to win. So obviously they're going to cover. And I think we all agree on the over here. So it's definitely going to be a fun one for the ages to watch. And I'm just glad that it's happening in my lifetime and I get to watch it. So there you have it, guys. That's everybody's picks. Now, really quick, because it was so long ago, we've talked so long about it. Drew, what was your pick on this game again? I know you had the over.
I have the over. I like Green Bay in the first half. And honestly, if Tom Brady's down 14-3 at the end of the first quarter, you're going to get a nice opportunity to come in live on the Bucks. You're going to get plus 7.5 live, something like that. It'll be very worth your while to, I think, back a Brady comeback opportunity, because I think most likely, I think the team with the ball last wins in this one. I do think it's Brady's capable of a comeback if they're down. I just ultimately, Packers they're just a better team, and the home field advantage it's going to matter at some point.
For sure, it does. And nobody knows more about a Tom Brady comeback than the Pickswise NFL show's resident Falcons fan. So, yeah, that's never. Look, the game just is never over until it's over. Okay. Now, producer Ben, who, by the way, is a diehard Packers fan, so I'm very happy for him. He put some notes in here before we close out this section. I just want to throw in there. Antonio Brown, as of today's Wednesday, is considered day-to-day. I do think he's going to play. That's just the vibes that I get from around the league. And, you know, he may not be a huge factor in the game. Who knows? But, I mean, his presence out there does do something to opposing defenses. Green Bay, 11-0 straight up when they don't turn the ball over. 3-3 straight up when they have at least one turnover. Now, the Packers are 7-2 against the spread in their last 9 playoff games. So, just a few notes for bettors to take heed of, okay? Guys, let us know in the comments below who you like in this matchup. Who's going to get to the Super Bowl? Is it going to be Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady? It's kind of a bummer that this just can't be the Super Bowl in itself.